I'm so excited about Arizona's economy and the changes I've seen in the last decade, and whether it was on the policy side, it being involved in an administration, or now with the Arizona Chamber of Commerce. Danny Seiden's played a big role in it. Thanks for coming back in.
No, good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Sorry I missed you the other day. I was all excited about seeing you, and they said you ditched us for that round table or that panel discussion.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to be there. I was part of the Taiwan delegation that the governor and Sandra were putting together, so I couldn't plan to be there. But it looked great. It was very important. Congressman Schweiker is always informative on the budget.
After all the things you sit down and do, I can't believe that you wanted to be at another panel discussion. Let's just be honest to the audience for a minute.
I love my job. I love learning. I love talking about these issues for the state. I could listen to David Schweiker talk about budgets for hours, which is, I'm guessing, what you did that day.
We did. It was, what's fascinating about it is you can almost see the wheels turning with him, that he's answering a question, but he's got so much information in his head. And I mean this respectfully, that it's just so much more than we can take in that short amount of time.
I give him a lot of credit. When I was in Governor Ducey's office and I ran our federal office, every time we'd visit Congressman Schweiker, he had a binder of Arizona-specific ideas.
Yes.
I actually think he would make, this is not an endorsement or a call to action, but I think he would make a very good Arizona governor. He knows our state, he knows our budget, he knows our issues, and he's passionate about them.
So I know we're here for a different topic, but I just wanted to say thanks for letting me to moderate that.
Sure, no.
Exposure to those things for me is fantastic. I know our news department was there, but I would have liked to have gone just to sit and attend. So to be able to moderate that discussion was fun. Let's talk about the visit by Lee Zeldin, EPA director, sitting in a room from the Trump administration, in a room with Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, discussing the EPA and regulations in Arizona. And I don't know that the average Arizonan would say that has anything to do with Arizona's economy, but you played a big role in this.
Thank you, Mike. There's a lot to be positive about from yesterday's meeting with Administrator Zeldin, and I have to give a lot of credit to Senator Mark Kelly. Going back to the confirmation hearing, Arizona's 2 Democratic senators voted to confirm Lee Zeldin to that position, and that is because he made a commitment on this issue for our state. We in Arizona, specifically Maricopa County, are heading into what's called serious non-attainment. And why everyone should care about that, if we hit that level of non-attainment, you need to get special permits to build. And it gets harder and harder to make these permits, Mike, because we're not Pittsburgh, we're not Rust Belt, Ohio. We don't have old factories we can go electrify and get what's called offsets. Arizona is we're a new state, and if we hit these levels of non-attainment, there's no way to offset what we need to get new permits. But the thing about Arizona is we reduce our emissions. We've been doing reductions for years. We're good corporate citizens. So why is our air getting worse? Well, now through studies and data from EPA, from Maricopa Association of Governments, from NASA, we can demonstrate that 80%, just under 80% of our ozone problem, the pollution in that air, is coming from outside of our control. But we're about to be punished for it. We have a commitment from this EPA to review that, to take serious action, to give us the controls we need to clean up our air and not shut down our economy.
And people can see things. When there is massive wildfires, you can see it. Yep. But people don't realize the residual effects of those things happening completely out of our control, but affecting what's happening to us here in Arizona.
That's 100% correct. You wake up and you can see haze if there's a wildfire. You can breathe it. We know that. But in within existing EPA rules, you can get exemptions for these natural occurrences like wildfires. But there's been very slow. They've been very slow to move in the past administration to allow you to be exempt from international causes. Like if we can trace our pollution to Southeast Asia, you should not shut down our economy on behalf of what they're doing over there.
So I think that's where the listener here that's interested in this, if you're a business owner, especially if you're a developer or somebody that wants to build something here, that you already know that the permitting process can be arduous and expensive, and that the front end of permitting and zoning is already difficult, and it's what drives a lot of people away from doing it. But if you're contemplating doing it, the idea that the EPA would mandate another level of permitting and more studies, and that's going to add to the expense, and what's going to happen? Texas, Florida, all these other places that are not having this issue are going to take up what we would legitimately have a shot at getting. That's
100% right. It's very competitive. And I have to tell you, our companies, just an example, TSMC that we always talk about, all the great news, $165 billion. They've been delayed because of the permitting issues in the past. So And they spend so much of their own resources on studies, on modern science, on equipment to monitor their air emissions and to be very precise about it. So again, we do things the right way here. And that is why you had a Democrat, Mark Kelly, bring out Lee Zeldin to Arizona, and we sat down. We had a real discussion, either show meetings and work meetings. This was a work meeting. We talked through solutions. We talked about what we can do in the future, and it was a great thing to see. It was, I think, Administrator Zeldin said he hadn't experienced what he saw in Arizona anywhere else in the country. He's from New York. He's like, I've never seen everyone working together, rowing in the same direction, on point, on message, with facts, with data, with science. It was very encouraging. I walked away yesterday feeling better about politics than I have in a long time to see that.
Well, and I think that when you have people invested in solutions and you shut the cameras off or the microphones off, even though I'm in the media business, with people that understand this is such an important issue for the future of Arizona, with all the work you've done and others on both sides of the aisle. You've got Kate Gallego that's done it with the mayor's office and our governor here that's working on allowing this economy to continue to grow. Anything like this that would stymie that growth from outside of our control has got to be something we address.
100%, Mike. And I'm glad you brought that up. Mayor Gallego's economic development person is a wonderful woman named Chris Mackey. She's very talented, very helpful, very good. I know I'll have some other opinions about the city of Phoenix a little bit later in your segment today,
Yeah.
but I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. She's been a great partner in economic development, and Chris Mackey is one of the best in the business. Fantastic. Right up there with Sandra Watson, Chris Camacho. Everyone knows her. She's the gold standard.
So I know we're talking air quality right now, but I want to shift for just a moment to water. I was talking with somebody yesterday that lives in Anthem. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't heard this concern before, but I want you to address it if you don't mind.
Sure.
The concern about water in TSMC has always been about water usage in TSMC. Their concern was about the future of water contamination because of what they do. Is that something that's even a moderate concern?
No, I'll tell you why. A company like TSMC, a company like Intel, they are the best in the business at what they do. Not only do they monitor any kind of contamination and would be responsible under dozens of laws, anything from CERCLA, very expensive, joint and severable liability laws on that. But they are going to be, I believe, like every other semiconductor is getting to water positive. Intel puts more water into the state than it takes out. TSMC has all the best practices. They are working to do the same. They treat wastewater. They work with the cities. They return it. They reduce brackishness. They do so many really good things. They work with other chamber members like Ecolab on efficiencies and again, ways to treat water and return it to the system. They work with tribes. So no, I believe that is not a valid. It's a concern because anytime you're anywhere you're near industrial, you get worried about what's being put out there. But I have to tell you, we have good corporate citizens. And if you come from a place like Taiwan, they are monitored very strictly. They know what they're doing, and they're coming into our country, they're coming into our community, and they're going to be great corporate citizens.
I saw something this morning, so I didn't have a chance to talk to you about it before we went on the air, but I did see it in a flash this morning. President Trump is talking about declaring copper as a critical mineral. What is that going to do with projects like Resolution Copper and mining for one of the 5 Cs?
First of all, that's a very big deal for copper. It affects permitting timelines. It affects exemptions from different regulations, being able to expedite that. And I'll tell you why that even matters more. Everything else we're talking about in terms of batteries, electric vehicles, our phones, electrical equipment, it's nothing. The electrification of society happens through copper. And we're sitting on, we're sitting in the state that exports more copper than any other state. I mean, it is vital to our state. It's very important to our industry. It's exciting that he would do that. I would argue it should have been done already. Copper is a critical mineral. It belongs in, every discussion. Yesterday, we had Freeport-McMoRan in the meeting with Administrator Zeldin talking about the smelter situation.
Yeah.
We have a smelter here. We need more. We need to be able to do and process more. For all these tariffs and everything else that we're talking about, the solution to bringing stuff here is more refineries, more smelters. And
it makes no sense that we mine the copper here, we send it to another country, then we pay tariffs to have it sent back to us. It makes no sense.
You get it, Mike. Some people do not. That's how tariffs work. But you're right. Whether it's aluminum, steel, copper, we need our refineries and our smelters here, and we haven't built them in decades. So the Freeport's asked for a review of their smelter rules, and I think EPA is committed to that as well because it fits in with President Trump's onshoring manufacturing in America First agenda.
All right, I want to shift gears because this morning I kind of railed against what, and we just both complimented the mayor genuinely, but
Yeah.
the mayor wrote a letter to the governor critical of the piece of legislation making its way through that would cut a deal to keep the D-backs in Chase Field by being able to capture taxes spent inside the stadium. And it seems to be similar to what the Cardinals have. It's worked. And the way I view this, and I don't know if you agree with me, is we invest in parks, we invest in libraries, we invest in things that make our hiking trails, that build the culture of our city, and they're great investments. Yeah. I don't see this any different. I see it as an investment in culture that actually gives us a return. The value of just that playoff and World Series run a couple of years ago is
$107 million. Yeah.
Is huge.
Yeah.
What do you make of this criticism from the mayor when the mayor signed on to a $230 million investment to remodel the arena for the Suns?
I am puzzled by Mayor Gallego's stance on this, and I think the goalposts have been shifting a little bit inside the state of Phoenix from what we've seen. There was some talk initially that don't do this D-backs deal, it will hurt public safety. And the public safety unions come out and say, no, we love the D-backs. They're our biggest supporters. This is a good deal. But I want to take one step back because it's so important to say what's unique about the D-backs stadium that's different than almost all these other sports deals out there. This was a county-owned asset going back 27 years. That was the deal. The county built this, and that's how we got, we were a smaller market back then. Jerry Colangelo was very visionary with how he put all this together. That's how we built it. So this discussion is, how do we treat this public asset going forward? It's not a giveaway to Rich. You're right. It's about income generated from within the stadium, also from players who come through as well with the income tax. It's a neat little fact, right? Every player, so when Ohtani comes in from LA, we get a portion of his paycheck coming back to Arizona dollars.
Right.
Which, by the way, if the Diamondbacks leave, we get zero. None of that comes through. Local businesses close. The charities go under. We've been producing a lot of these interviews and videos with folks, anything from, the Animal Welfare League and the puppies that get adopted to small businesses. They'll completely shut down. They said, my business goes the way that the Diamondbacks go. And so if I'm Mayor Gallego, I want to do everything I can to keep this asset. And I will say this, I feel like her position seems to be evolving more towards that. It's much more, how do we fix this bill? How do we put some safeguards in? And I think as it's in the Senate right now, there'll be an amendment or two that should satisfy, I hope, everyone's concerns on this, but we have to get this done. The competition from other states is hot. Utah, make no mistake, they're putting real money up to try and steal our team.
Could you imagine Salt Lake City getting a major league team as well on top of getting the Coyotes?
Mike, I've said it before, I'll say again. When I see my counterpart in Utah, Todd from the manufacturers, he always says, hey, how's the hockey down in Arizona now? I mean, they love to rub this in.
They do?
Yeah, and that's it's not okay. We need to get hockey back, and we need to keep the D-backs here.
Well, if you look back when we got the Coyotes here in Arizona, what a grab that was to get from Edmonton to get a team here from a Canadian team to relocate. And it was planting our flag here as another major sport. We now had all of them, all the major sports. That was a huge thing for this city, for this town.
It took real leadership. Again, Jerry Colangelo sat down. He worked on this. Working on bringing all these, entities to our state, and it was worth so much to the fan base. He built up hockey fans in Arizona, and we have a lot of Canadians here too. So we have kind of a built-in heat map for hockey here. So we got to get that back. But right now, the focus is all about D-backs and making sure that we show them love. They've given us nothing but love. Nearly $6 billion in a total economic impact. It's time we show them some love back and do what it takes.
And so defeat, if you don't mind helping me, because I was trying to defeat this. The way that this is criticized is it's subsidizing millionaires or billionaires. And I've always said, I want to do business with billionaires. Yeah. I want the Bidwills, and I want the Kendricks, and I want Ishbias. I want those people doing business and making sure they're investing here. The money that Matt Ishbia spent on the Rah-Rah room at the arena, well, those happened because when Sarver owned it, they cut a deal to keep him here until 2037. That's a good investment for the city of Phoenix. I don't see this as any different for the state.
No, that's a great point, and you're right. Capital goes where it's most wanted and stays where it's most welcome. So we have to make their investments welcome here. Now, there's a little bit of difference between each owner. Now, if you're part of an ownership group as the D-backs, you're the managing partner. Yeah, you might get the say, and we know that the Kendricks, and we know Derek Hall, one of the best people in our community.
He is great.
They want to be here. They want to be in Arizona. But it's really tough when you can't get this situation with the stadium figured out because it's a county asset. So we need to work together to solve this problem. It's not a subsidy to him at all. It's all about how you treat this public asset.
And one other thing that they're planning on doing that the public doesn't know a whole lot about, but they should, is the development that they're planning around Chase Field, all that open land and some other places the rejuvenation of that part of downtown Phoenix that's just going to drive even more revenue outside of the stadium is another big part of this.
It's a huge part of it. I mean, what if you don't think teams can leave and leave an eyesore, let's talk about the Madhouse on McDowell for a minute. And those of you who grew up here, I mean, when the Suns left that, it hasn't ever really been used for much besides the fair since then. If Chase Field doesn't have the Diamondbacks, what becomes of it? And instead, you get the Diamondbacks, you get this development. Downtown is revitalized around them. We've got grocery stores, we've got restaurants between the D-backs, the Suns. I mean, it's safe and fun to be downtown.
Glendale's been used for some phenomenal concerts and events, but you look at Chase Field, there's a college football bowl game that's played there that's nationally televised. The Hondo Rodeo has been there this year, which is a huge success. Billy Joel, Stevie Nicks, Elton John, some of the biggest names, concerts down there that every business down there, including the guys driving the pedicabs, benefit from those events, and they all go away.
Yeah, no, 100%. We have that testimony from them. And Mike, it's not just, we're talking about downtown. Go to Prescott, go to anywhere in the state. The D-backs have created communities with their Little League fields. They sponsor all of that. I mean, they put so much back into our state, and we would feel it if they left. It would be hurt. Yeah.
I know it's late for you because you got to be somewhere, but one last point. How crazy would it be, and it's possible, that the D-backs have one of the best spring training facilities in Arizona, and they spring train here, and they become whatever they would become in Salt Lake City or somewhere else, and we don't have them here, but we have them for spring training.
You and I are both from Florida. You're taking me back to when I was a kid. People didn't realize Florida had 0 baseball teams when I was growing up. I had to be an Atlanta Braves fan. Now I was a bat boy for the Chicago White Sox in spring training, but I had to root for the Braves because that was the closest team. That's what would happen. We'd be cheering for the Salt Lake City, whatever you would call them.
We'd never cheer for the Dodgers. Yeah. We are never cheering for the Dodgers. I don't care what happens.
It's a huge character flaw to cheer for the Dodgers. No, we in this state have to show leadership. We have to show love to people who are willing to invest in here. And I know this is another segment we should talk about Axon next time I'm on and what's happening there and an update on that. It matters when you have leaders like Derek Hall and the Kendricks and Rick Smith willing to stay here and willing to invest in us.
Listen, I appreciate the time. I know you have somewhere else you need to be, but 30 minutes is never enough. But I appreciate all of the time with you.
Always, Mike. Love being on your show. So much to talk about. A lot of good news in Arizona. Have a good one.
All right. That's Danny Seiden spending a few minutes with us.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.